The big banks are coming out with some crazy predictions for the gold price, and we know what that means for the silver price. Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, JP Morgan, we're hearing numbers like $2,700 per ounce for gold, $3,000 per ounce. Even one big bank talking about $4,000 per ounce gold. And again, we need to remember that means a much, much higher silver price as well. But what's behind all of this? You ever wonder, like, what's it going to take to propel gold and silver even higher? They've been doing very, very well lately. Well, I have five big factors that can propel the price of gold and silver higher, maybe even higher than what these big banks are talking about. I'm going to answer all your questions in this video, and we're going to get started right now. Now, the number one first reason why we could see a lot more money going into the gold and silver sector, ironically, would be a big downturn in the stock market. Look, if you've been noticing, the stock market's been struggling lately. The S&P 500 down over 5% in just the last few weeks. And the big tech stocks, remember the Magnificent Seven or whatever they were calling them? Well, they're struggling as well. The reason why? Higher interest rates. These companies thrive during the zero interest rate environment. And the investing community is starting to wake up that maybe, just maybe, these crazy projections, not just for the tech stocks, but for all of the stock market in general, just don't make sense given the current economic and interest rate environment. But what does that mean for the gold price? What does that have to do with the silver price? Well, when people start waking up and taking a little bit of their money out of the stock market, it's just going to take a sliver of the money that's in the general markets to flow into gold and silver, and it will make a huge, huge difference, in particular for the precious metal mining stocks. What about the bond market? Things aren't looking any better there. Guys, interest rates aren't coming down anytime soon. The 10-year bond yield is at near historic levels if you're looking at a 20 to 25 year time frame. Okay? Bond prices are suffering right now. And with the specter of higher inflation, the higher inflation goes, as inflation starts to come back into play, it will make bonds even less attractive. We could see a large amount of money moving out of bonds into the safety of gold and silver. And don't forget, looked at on just the last 5-year time frame, gold's actually outperformed the S&P 500. I'd say it's a safe bet to say that gold's definitely outperformed bonds over the last 5 years. Bond prices have been absolutely decimated. And while we aren't expecting big moves in the interest rates, the bond market is massive. It's way bigger than even the stock market. Just a little bit of that bond market flowing into the precious metals can make a massive, massive difference. Let's talk about real estate. Commercial real estate. We know that's a big, big mess. Now, that market pales in comparison to the bond market, but nonetheless, that's another source where money could be moving. Who's going to invest in commercial real estate right now? Wouldn't you think silver or gold would look a little more attractive? And the same can be said about residential real estate. Do you want to buy residential real estate right now? Right? Who can afford a mortgage at what, 7.5% mortgage rates? As residential real estate begins to correct, we'll see just a little tiny bit of that money flowing into the precious metals. And right, the precious metals market, especially silver, is so small. It just takes a little bit of money to make a big, big, big difference. The big whopper, the big elephant in the room. We're going to get to that next. But I wanted to say thank you to channel sponsor Pimbex, Pimbex. If you believe, you need to make up your mind for yourself, but if you believe that the silver and gold price are in for even better days ahead, you may want to check out Pimbex online bullion dealer, gold, silver, platinum, best prices, great selection, great service. I think they check all the boxes. I think Pimbex is best. And I think if you check them out, you will too. The big factor going on right now, then we've got one more bonus factor to talk about, will be inflation. Inflation is the godfather of precious metals prices. It's what has provided the value proposition for silver and gold, not just for decades, not just for centuries, but for the millennium. Gold and silver have always held their value against deflating currencies throughout the world, throughout history. The reality right now is that we are moving into an environment in the world, in the United States, where paper fiat money, because of all the debt, because of all the mismanagement, paper fiat money will continue to go down in value. That will be inversely reflected in the value, in the price of things like silver and gold, as measured in those paper unicorn fart dust fiat money systems, whether it be dollars, euros, yen, any of them. We will see higher and higher prices. The Fed is almost powerless at this point against fighting inflation. Okay. They're talking about lowering rates, but if they really want to fight this incoming inflation, they would have to raise rates. They can't raise rates. We've covered this exhaustively here on the channel. If they raise interest rates, the government, the banks, corporations, and households would implode because they just don't have the bandwidth to accommodate higher interest rates. All of those sectors are already stretched to their max right now. So as we have higher and higher inflation, again, as the value of the fiat money goes down and down and down, we are going to see an inversely related price increase measured in fiat dollars for things like silver and gold. It's going to be very, very interesting. Let's also say thank you to channel sponsor, First Mining Gold, Canadian gold developer with 2 multi-million ounce development stage projects in Canada. You can learn more about them at firstmininggold.com. And our friends at Fortuna Silver and Gold Mining Company, they have 3 operating mines in Latin America, silver and gold, and 2 very efficient, very profitable gold mines in West Africa. You can learn more about them at fortunasilver.com. And what's the bonus factor that will continue to propel silver and gold higher? Geopolitical uncertainty. If inflation is the godfather of gold and silver maintaining their value over the millennium, well, then you would have to say that geopolitical uncertainty is the godmother, because it will always be a major factor as there's war breaking out, which we know is the case. Europe, the Middle East, just 2 examples. Other powder keg environments, China and Taiwan. Geopolitical uncertainty, people being nervous, will always support the real value of silver and gold. Think about it. When countries aren't getting along, why would they want to trade their paper money, which is basically representative of an IOU, with each other? What they want are things like silver and gold. Hey guys, when we look at the big picture of what's going on right now, we can see a bright, bright future for the silver price, for the gold price. Whether we look at it from an inflation perspective, a geopolitical perspective, or the idea that money, big amounts of money, could flow into the gold and silver market from places like the stock market, the bond market, or the real estate market, it appears that we could indeed reach those lofty projections that now even the big banks are giving us. Hey, thanks for joining me here in the basement. Thanks for being a basement dweller with me for a few minutes here. I'm going to look forward to seeing you next time.